There we go. Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the LCS report. We have our guest here, Raz. Raz, thank you so much for joining us. I think this episode is going to be um, quite important, just because the past month we've been talking about making the LCS great again. LCS is back. Let's do this all together. And just having someone from the broadcast who's actually working on the LCS, who can answer a lot of the questions that we have, should be helpful. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. And also, I've been seeing your guys' TikToks like pretty frequently. So it's been fun to be able to see the channel and just like the content you guys been pushing out there.
Yeah, we've been seeing your TikToks too. You've recently gotten into making more TikToks. At first, it was a lot of a lot of shaking ass on there, and now I think
Yes,
there's a lot
true.
more discussion. So
The funny thing, the reason for that is because for me, I'm on the broadcast so much, so a lot of my takes are tied to the broadcast. And
Mm,
if you're on the broadcast, like a lot of times, obviously the clear things you can't say are like cussing, obviously. But
mhm.
a lot of your takes, I usually get out there for like Hotline League, or if I were to stream myself. And then with Hotline League going out, I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have a space in which I can just say my takes. So I decided to use TikTok, where in the past it was just either just dumbass games or shaking ass. So I needed to find a new avenue to just put out my takes and like create discussion for myself.
Yeah, the little I don't even know what the filter games or whatever they're called.
Yeah,
Yeah, some of those are fun, and some of those are like okay.
I know what you mean. Like, if it's so hard to find a good one, it really is. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
well, it's not worth it. This is not worth it.
All right. Well, let's just hop right into it, kind of how we do on the LCS report, and just get started with it. You're working on the broadcast. Obviously, there was a big change last year in 2025. I know it's still the current year, but in the
Yeah.
season of 2025, there was a big change, and it changed from 2024. So 2024 summer, we got a new commissioner, or a commissioner,
Yes.
I guess, in Mark Z, and it really felt like the LCS, the broadcast, everything was becoming more enjoyable. I think I Will Dominate was talking about how he didn't even want to do LEC anymore because LCS was so much more enjoyable, and obviously he was live viewing LEC. There was so much upward momentum. Even hypercritical media sources were like, the LCS is doing the greatest that it's done in the past 5 years.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to tap into that specifically when Mark Z became commissioner, when these changes took place. I think even I was talking to someone else, and they said they had a new, what is equivalent to a chief marketing officer. There was a big push for the LCS. Talk to me about that specifically, that split, and how you guys managed to sort of change that narrative of the LCS is dying, the LCS is dying, to, man, the LCS is so much fun.
I think a lot of it is a combination of the good things you're already doing. Like, I feel like the content the broadcast was making for some time was good. And of course, I'm biased. So I'm always happy to hear like naysayers, but I felt like the content was good. We're getting better at being able to push that content on other platforms that we need to obviously continue to do that plus. And then I think the worst things was like, how do we communicate that? And then also take in feedback and have somebody from like upper management or something to that is so clearly there and listening. Because one thing that I've loved about Riot in comparison to the other games that I played, like Street Fighter, always felt like Capcom was so bad when it comes to communicating to their community, or even just like having any reasoning for the changes they make to their community. Nintendo, I mean, everybody
I was just gonna
from
bring them up.
Smash,
Yeah.
yeah, everybody hates it. But like Riot is really good when it comes to their base game about communicating changes that happen. And I feel like with other leagues, they're also really generally good at communicating changes. And I think when it comes to randomly the LCS, and at times I don't know, other people can speak about LEC. It's like we weren't great about communicating anything. Change is reasoning behind the changes, what our goals were, and I think bringing in Mark, not only somebody that I think has a great mind for things, but also is like a frontward facing figure that can communicate changes and that can take in feedback. If I wanted to like like Mark Z right now on Twitter about changes, I could do that. If I wanted to get in his DMs, I could do that. Like fans can legitimately have somebody that they can look towards, similar to like Drew Levin on just league stuff, or um, Froxen. I think when it comes to like balance changes, like that's what we needed, and I thought that was great, and the community really loved that. And for me, what I really cared about was like long-term changes that makes what is great better, and some of the things that don't work, you can snuff them out. So I genuinely did like it, and I thought the summer split being like an experiment for best of threes was like sweet. That makes sense, taking in data, making use of it. So I enjoyed it a lot, and I thought, yeah, the community was definitely showing that.
Yeah, I want to talk specifically about some of the projects that started up. I think pros started in 2024 summer. That was a great
True.
initiative. There was also Jat was doing this thing where every other week or every 3 weeks he was bringing on two players who had some beef. He brought in Jojo and APA before they played. He brought in Jensen and Inspired. Like I think he did one more. I don't remember what they called it. But there was also like on the short side, there was like they started posting semi consistently, which was nice as well. There was just not just the communication part, but also in the creativity in the type of content. I think in 2024 spring, Mark Z had started meeting up with Doublelift or catching up with Doublelift, something like that.
Yeah.
It felt like there was a lot more exploration of how do we, what is the limit of what we can do, and if it works, hey, we keep going on that. Where did that exploration, like the ability to even be able to explore, come from?
A lot of that is, so you know how talent is. Like when I say talent, I mean like people who are working the broadcast and like writing teams and all that. Like when you come into the room, you will always shoot your ideas out there. Like you'll love an idea. It's like, hey, I want to do this, 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 this. And then whether it gets done, that depends on what resources you have, or like what's the willingness, or what's the process. And I think in the past we made good content, so it's not like I didn't like the content that we were making. I think it was good. It was not necessarily like either like caster or community ideas, or more so just like ideas that were separate from us. And then I think right now what we've been seeing for the last couple of years, or at least 2 years, has been ideas where if Mark wants to do catching up with Doublelift, it's an idea that he spun up in his head, that he brought to writers, or somebody came to him, producers that I mean, and they like created something that was born off of like a dumb idea that Mark has had probably for a long time. Or the one mentioned, what you've been mentioning with Jat, like ideas that he came out of nowhere. Or Emily's like painting thing, drawing,
yeah,
like draw your life. That's an idea that Emily really pushed, or someone was like, well, you're an incredible artist, you should make this. I don't know how it was necessarily spawned, but I think it was definitely Emily's child. And Europe is the same, where it's like GB is the GB games. So like that is amazing. And I think if you have talent driven ideas, and it's something that they have cherished, loved, brought up, you can see the passion behind it, and you can definitely see the audience come and enjoy it. And I think the faster the better too, because a joke doesn't last very long. Like the whole KBBQ jokes around C9, that's around for a week. If you put it out in week 3 because you care too much about the polish of a segment or something like that, it's gonna die. So I think that was that needed to happen a lot faster, and I think that's where it came from. That being said, I remember the Riot layoffs happened. That impacted a lot of people, Europe, North America, and everybody. I think the same resources we had like a long time ago, I know not necessarily there. So I think that we still try and push out stuff like that, but maybe not to the same level as catching up with Doublelift.
Okay, that was literally going to be my next question. I was like, okay, so that's where they came from. Where did they go? I think in 2025 there was one segment that I was like, this is great, and it was the one where you guys got Sven and you had a big board where like the top 10 players, 80 carries of all time, according to the chat, right? And then he was like, okay, Doublelift number 1, I get it. Sneaky number 2, sure, he's really popular. Freaking Tactical, like, was ahead of him, Stixie? He was like, nah, man. That was hilarious. I love that.
Yeah, that was fun. That's just like, if we could find a way to troll a pro, let's effing do it. That one was literally just like, Jad was like, I want to troll Sven. We should do it. And all of this, by the way, that you mentioned, like the last year and a half, not 2 years, like, producers came in and they really wanted to make it like pro centric. We should, and obviously all of us has really wanted to have his pros on as many times as possible. If we can get a pro casting, fantastic. If we're in the lounge or something, if we can get a pro in the middle of the game, start a game, like at any point, please let's do it. Like if we want to make our pros stars, and the best way for it to happen is to have them present, even if sometimes they're pretty rough at the beginning. God knows when I was first hit the camera, my ass was awful. So like, it'll take some time.
The LPL show that you started 2017 or something was a little rough, but
A little
yeah,
rough from the production side and from my like the way I which I presented my points. Yeah, it was pretty bad. So it takes some repetition.
for sure. So I feel like there are two main things that I get that really made the LCS enjoyable to watch.
Yeah,
Like end of 2024 is like you said, there was a lot of communication, whether it was in the form of like we are trying all this different content, or in the like, I mean, Mark Z had like what 2, 3 streams where he was actively just sitting down with the community answering questions. And like
yeah,
not necessarily dodging questions, but saying, "Hey, I can't answer that," which is a dodge, but it's at least he acknowledged it. He didn't ignore it.
yeah,
Also, you guys were doing a lot in like hosting other pro players. It felt more community centric.
yeah.
So that like the content and the being openness, I really do feel like in 2025 we lost that.
Mhm.
And I do want to give you an opportunity to speak from your end. You did say you lost a lot of resources, which I can see can very much make it more difficult. But I also want to get your perspective on how the year, from a broadcast point of view, on like being able to tap into a community who was very clearly not happy with you guys. How do you
Yeah.
do that?
I think for a lot of people, I won't speak for others, and I'll kind of only do it in this case, but I don't know. I don't know how other people feel. When there is so much rampant negativity and you yourself feel negative about an idea, it is hard to communicate. So like for
Mm,
me, I don't I'll say for myself, it's like I'll ask myself, what do I actually want to say about this? Because I'm trying to be open-minded. I think my one of my flaws as a person is I shut ideas down sometimes when I just can't see it working, instead of being open-minded and experimenting. If something is like, oh, if I in my mind don't see the idea behind LTA working, then it's hard for me to be able to like, I don't know, be open-minded. But I tried being open-minded. So I was like, hey, I never slipped up. I always said LTA. Like I was trying to create some bullshit with the Brazilian fans, the whole Vampeto thing. I decided I was going to combat it with my own Raspeto or something. Like, I tried to buy into it, but of course, in deep in my head, I didn't think. I loved the LCS branding. I loved everything that we did the year prior. I always felt as though instead of changing everything, incremental changes on the things in which is working, continue to reinforce that. The things that are not working, obviously you move that to the side and work something else out. There was like such a massive change that I think it is hard for a lot of people to come out and speak on it. And also, at least this kind of loops back to my first thing. So this is kind of talking about like me getting my voice out there. When Hotline League is dead, I was like, damn, how do I get my unfiltered voice out? Because I didn't stream regularly. I didn't use TikTok. My Instagram is like for photos or me just doing whatever random stuff. Like I'll just put out my personality stuff. And I realized I am not getting my own voice out there in normal means other than random Twitter like flaming or like just going out on Twitter and clacking away, right?
mhm.
Um, so I think for myself, I decided I was just gonna be using TikTok more as a voice. For other people, I don't know. Some people are pretty up and down on how they use social media, and then I think for upper management, I don't know what necessarily happened. Can't really speak for anyone there, but I do know that at a time when you're probably planning and figuring things out, like for instance, the change back to LCS happened in the finals of the LTA. So it's like, how long did they know that that was going to happen? How long were they planning it or reconsidering? So I'm pretty sure they probably didn't really have much to say because they were, I don't know how long in advance they kind of knew that they were changing back to LCS. So it's like, I think we just need to be better at communicating. I say that often, so I can only really work on myself. So I'm trying to be better about how I communicate my thoughts to people regularly. But yeah, I do think that's a fair point about the voice being lost a little bit there on the broadcast.
And I guess to go a little further onto that, when you are in your day to day, like obviously the format was a big issue. People were complaining about that as well. But when you are
Yeah.
kind of working these day-to-day events that feel like less people care about them, that feel like there's a lot of negativity behind it, how does that affect you and your coworkers on like a day-to-day basis? Do you feel that effect from the pro players as well? Is there like an
Mm.
overarching feeling?
Oh, you can feel it. Like you've done interviews throughout the entire year, so I know you felt it from the players as well a little bit, right? And so like, and I'm somebody that I find a lot of my energy from the people around me. And so, for instance, during COVID, damn, that shit was depressing. It's like there's no one in the fucking studio. The people around me are pretty depressed. So like that's where I was like, wow, this is the lowest I've been in esports in terms of trying to find energy to draw from. But then when it's a major event, it's incredible. And in this case, usually when you rebrand, you find more personality in your rebranding. Like for instance, when LEC rebrand to LEC from LCS EU, there's individuality. They're their own thing. Like it's exclusive to them. Whereas in this case, you're rebranding outwards. You're losing your individuality of LCS and you're rebranding to something of larger capacity to include LLA fans that are already pissed off, and the Brazilian fans. So it's like that one feels off, especially when you're supposed to say, Northern Conference. Like, oh, it's the Northern Conference. This or like, so it's a lot. And so trying to figure out where I see love and value in it, that's the hard part. And so my conclusion of like where do I see value and love in this is the rivalry. That's literally the only thing we had was if it's built to be us versus the South, then let's be as antagonistic as possible. Let's like try and make it something real. Brazilian fans already fucking hate us. Like they make that clear every time you make a post out there. So let's work off of that. And you know what's funny is that if it kind of started working at the end, literally when things were already decided that we're moving away from it, the Brazilian fans were finding like we lost to them, or at least 100 Thieves lost to them in Shopify Rebellion, lost to Red Canids, and you're starting to see the shit talking start to happen. You're like, great, like we haven't really played at all during Split 2, and in Split 1, it was a complete landslide. I thought it was going to be another landslide in Split 3, and personally I have my own excuses. Cloud9 blew up, Team Liquid blew up, Shopify Rebellion I think could get stronger, but there were problems there.
We went 0-20 scrims before that. Yeah, we blew up too.
Boom. Yeah, there's a lot of blow up. And also the split, the format of the Split 3 was so bad, I didn't even feel like it was indicative of who are the top 3 teams necessarily. But that's another discussion about like pick and play in general. So it's like, that's all my excuses, put them to the side. I was like, oh, it's starting to work. But now it's moved away. So I was like, if we wanted to move to LTA, I think it had to be more of a long-term thing. And it was communicated as a long-term thing, but I feel like that being said, they heard the fans, and I guess not only fans, they probably heard the voices from everybody. Because I don't know how many people actually really enjoyed the idea. So it was tough.
Yeah, my follow-up to that is, this is a bit of a two-part question, but in 2025, like you said, we had to incorporate like new CBLOL fans. Like our English viewership went down, but our like non-English viewer like shot through the roof, right? So now we're incorporating new elements or new fans. And obviously, if you're trying to get non-English speakers to join, the sort of like onboarding, the efforts you do to bring new fans is going to be very different than, I guess, with the rebrand of the LCS. Now, I'm assuming we're going to go back to more of an English-speaking audience. Those efforts are different. So part one is what was the broadcast effort in incorporating and trying to bring in new fans that historically never really watched LCS because they watched other regions?
I would say it's definitely the content that was on broadcast and a lot of the content out of broadcast. So like I know the teams are doing their own stuff. Like for instance, Shopify Rebellion had sales, so they had a lot of their own personal content around there. And then Cloud9 was doing a lot of Portuguese translating for their content, even with the loss of their Brazilian social media man in Mateus. But also from the broadcast side, we had a lot of content that was, if it was like a look at a specific new champion or a new game mode or something. There was stuff with like Sniper alongside Boal that we recorded at the beginning of the season or Split. Or That was like an 80 carry one we had. I'm trying to remember. It was also we had Titan with Zeus in one specific content piece. So we had a lot of content pieces that try to bring those players from the north and south together and push that out there. We also had like a best, I forget what it was, like a 5v5 with a specific game mode. Oh, it was with WASD. Why am I
Oh
saying that?
yeah.
WASD. I'm buying into the WASD bullshit, but the WASD stuff. So we did push a lot of content there. The difficulties with that one is, was it felt? Well, Split 2 didn't have any interaction between the North and the South. So like that's what made it difficult, is finding sustained reasoning and getting people interested. Is, hey, yeah, sure, Seos is on a team, so you should try and push that as much as possible. But then if you're trying to say watch us because it's relevant to you or something you should be watching, it's like, well, Split 2, you have your own region, and Split 2, there's nothing happening. Split 2, you stopped watching after you got completely whopped in the first round. So I think it would have worked, I think, and if we put more on top of it, and we started to have a lot more of the Brazilian players on pros as well in Split 3. So there was a push from it, and there was also a challenge to it as well. It's like challenging the reasoning of doing it if there is no interest in all of Split 2. So it's like, why do we have like Southern content in the North if there's no Southern interaction throughout an entire split? Stuff like that happened. So it was like a push and pull. It was a process.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense, because it almost, I guess, from the outside felt like you guys gave up. Like you tried it for Split 1, and then you didn't see the results maybe that you wanted, or you didn't have the same resources. I think even CBLOL had sent someone up from their end.
Oh yeah, we had Baiano. We had Baiano that was coming in for the actual finals in Split 1. So I don't think we gave up from that side. We did try and have as many voices as possible in that front when it made sense. Like, I thought Baiana's big Zordon presence in the back during the finals was fun. And then also how we played off of it around it was good. But it was more so like, how do we get it seen? Oh yeah, but continue your question. I'm sorry. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, so part 2 of the question is, now that we're separate, now that we don't necessarily, not that we don't care about them anymore, but our priority, our number one, is no longer, hey, we are this big region. It's, hey, let's bring the LCS back, right?
Yeah.
What do we do in order to onboard maybe new players? This might be actually a 3-part question. Like new people who've never watched LCS, and then the third part is people who stopped watching the LCS because, you know, whether they got older, whether they didn't like the rebrand, whatever reason they stopped watching.
I think the answer is probably the same answer I gave you the last time we did the interview years ago, which is kind of frustrating, which is just like, it's the most basics. I think we need to do a better job at promoting our players and our league from a team level, but also from a broadcast level. I think we do okay. But when it comes to getting people to just watch the broadcast, like it doesn't matter if the content on the broadcast is, if you feel confident about it, so it obviously can get better. It's like, well, you need to be able to hook people in that are not watching it. So like, for instance, I think shorts on TikToks, YouTube, yeah, Twitter works too, but like Instagram Reels, like those are really important. Like being able to push the content that you do have and you feel a lot of confidence in, pushing them out on platforms for people to see and find interest in from the wider league audience is important. And also connecting the league to the game is extremely important. Like we made a lot of positive changes about basically making it so we're always on live patch. It's like, that is great. So now if you're a player, like I came in to playing League of Legends and I wanted to get better at the jungle, I watched St. Vicious. I just watched streams. Like I wanted to watch pro players because at the end of it, they're the reason that gets us better. They're the best of the best within our region. And so if that's the case, we should try and tie the game to our league as frequently as possible. If there's a new champion like Zahen coming out, though unfortunately he's coming out in December, there's no content around that and no one's really, you know, you're seeing streamers come out with it, but it is what it is. Surdy is right now streaming him a lot and Dokla streaming him a lot, but they're not in our league. That's another conversation entirely. But like if there's something new that comes out, we should be pushing content with our league pros and putting it out on these socials, and people should be really seeing them as an arbiter of truth. And of course, if a lot of our pros are entertaining, but they don't get out there a lot. So I think that's number one. Number two is the content that we already have, pushing it out on platforms. That's number two. And yeah, I mean, every team is doing their own, or at least should be doing their own job in terms of getting people to find a reason to love them, love their players, and love their team. There's obviously criticism there, but I think from that side, we need to do a better job at promoting.
You brought up a really interesting like demographic that I don't necessarily think of.
Mhm.
But you mentioned like people who are getting into the game.
Yeah.
I guess from my perspective, I feel like League of Legends has done a very good job at steering the direction of the game, but they've done a very poor job at getting like onboarding, like getting new players into the game. It's very difficult to get into the game, and the newer game modes they need like a new game mode with only 50 champions, or something like that. You know,
something.
How do you get? Is there, from your guys' perspective, a difference of like we want to make specific content pieces for this specific demographic? Do you separate demographics as like, let's have this specific cast or this piece of content for people who don't really know League of Legends or might not be too familiar with League of Legends, versus this one for people who've been watching for the past 15 years? We can bring up more historical reference. This one's for maybe people who just onboarded because they're Seiyos fans. Like, do you guys have specific cohorts like that, like in traditional marketing, or not really?
I'm not sure from the overarching marketing aspect. I know from our broadcast, when we create content, of course, our question immediately is going to be, who is it for? Sometimes it's a mix. So like, for instance, with pros, our producers heavily encourage us. And I also really want, when we ask players questions, meta-based questions, kind of like tips for solo queue, you'll see that from those as well. Like when Jat is on pros, he'll ask them about like, hey, I haven't played in League in forever. Like, how do I climb? Like some of those times, those questions will be asked, and like you see great answers from our pros. And so sometimes you'll see existing content be mixed with a few new player questions. Not even no, like basically players that are trying to improve or trying to get better. Like those questions that come into play and that tie our game to the league. Like those are good. And then when it comes to individual content, being like, how do you play team fights better? And using, let's say, a bad team fight from, I'm gonna bully Dignitas, like a bad team from Dignitas. Like how do they play out this better? That can be more competitive. But if you were talking about a new champion, you're like, this is a new champion that's come out. I'll continue to use Zahan as an example. And people are joking about how BS he is in terms of kit. It's like, well, we just need to teach people what he actually does, because half the problem is no one actually knows like how his passive works. And so like, I think someone, if a split were to happen right now, would just create a content piece about what Zahin does. And that is so evergreen, can be used like to hit any viewer, esports viewers, but especially like just any North American League player. And it doesn't have to be my face that presents that. I think ideally it would be a top laner like a Zamudo that comes up on stream and says what this champion does. And then that is perfect. Like, unfortunately, when Bippo got like nuked, he was somebody that streamed a lot. And on top of that, I think had one of the content pieces with Kobe that I really enjoyed, where it was like how to trade with Renekton, or how to play Renekton top. I think it was Kennen or Renekton. I forget which one it was. I think it was Renekton. And it was basically like lane tips. And I think that was going to be like a continual thing. So maybe like I'll ask Kobe if that's something that he's doing next year as well. But every content piece will have that question, and there'll be some content pieces that are like perfect for new players, that'll be pushed in their direction. There's going to be content that already exists that's going to have a little bit of that sprinkled in.
That's interesting. Do you have like, I don't know if you guys have access to it, or maybe like upper management have access to it, but do you have access to information of what, like, not necessarily demographics in terms of age, gender, all that stuff, but demographics in terms of like League of Legends? Like, this person has been playing for a long time. This person's a top main. This person's a new player. This person's only an ARAM player. Do you happen to have those? Like, maybe this person doesn't play League. Do you happen to have that information?
I know that our higher ups do. They'll have a lot of data, and sometimes we'll have meetings in which like data is shared to us specifically for like what content pieces work and what content pieces don't. Like we've had some of those meetings where it's like, this is the style of content that just doesn't really get views, and this is like the correlation, or at least they're put into sections, and this is the style of content that we generally love to see. And we'll get that like not often, like after a split or something, and it does inform us in trying to build like basically a pregame or postgame or in-game stuff where it's like this is generally what works with people, and we can lean into that style.
Interesting. So
Like a
you
good
do
question
get
is
the
like, oh, sorry, because a good example is probably like interviews. So like for instance, what style of interviews work for audiences? Like what kind of glues people to the screen? Is it like gamey interviews? Is it on stage interviews? Is it lounge interviews where we bring people on and we get to have more long form ones? Sadly, this is just a sad reality, and it's made it personally. I mean, maybe I'm too old. But like the long form stuff just doesn't work, and that's kind of like some of my um. This is like a while ago, so maybe I'm not remembering this correctly. But like a lot of those like longer form interviews that we used to do in the past, like doesn't grab interest. And so like, okay, so how do we present that same information to the audience in short form? I think we're in a short form society, which I generally hate, but hey, we got to adapt with with the times.
So when you say the long form interviews don't work, are you talking about the specifically when you would bring them into the lounge, like what you did with Sven after he wins the game, he sits with you guys for like 6 7 minutes, or are you talking about something else?
That stuff I think can work, but you'd have to, I wouldn't say gamify it, but you have to have like different things to do. Like for instance, if I'm just sitting with somebody and I'm asking them questions for like a 7 minute period, um, then that will be stale. But if I, for instance, like sit with them, ask them something for 3 minutes, but we have like a game for them, or if we have like a challenge for them, or for instance, you mentioned, we talked about it earlier, um, like trolling Zen,
Hmm.
well, as like a small little thing. We just chop it up in a little bit of a way, or even if we want to make it educational, you can still do it in an entertaining way. Just like we have a telestrator in the back with a team fight, and he can just go over and either run through it himself, or someone can go up there and talk about it, and he can comment on it. It's like basically like make little segments within a larger interview. I think that
Mm.
would work a lot better than just the idea of like sit down and talk to somebody. And that's like a lesson that I would have personally.
Okay, I definitely agree with that. I also think another issue you guys run into before like moving on off of this point is as soon as a game ends, the viewership drops, right? That's like just a
Mhm.
known fact. People only tune into
Yes.
the games, and the question is, how do we keep them tuned in? And if the answer is interviews with the pro players or bring a pro player on so that people stay on, how do you do it in an effective way so that people know that the pro player is coming on, right? Because it sometimes it takes it's the time that we find out that the player is going to be on for the interview is when he's on for the interview. It's
Mhm.
not like the game ends. He's like, man, I can't wait to talk to Sven about that specific game. There's no like build up, and so people don't know that it's going to happen. That's one thing. Um, but just the idea of like it's already dropping. How much is that because the interview was stale, and how much is it people weren't going to stay anyways?
So this is perfect because this is, I think, the one thing that we literally focus on and we get data from is basically because for all broadcasts, when the game is over, there is going to be a drop off, right? That's a
Mm-hmm.
guarantee. I think what is judged, what you're judged based off of is not necessarily um, like how do you keep all those viewers necessarily, or like getting more viewers. It's basically taking the hit like as least as possible. How do
Mm-hmm.
you keep people glued to the screen? Is probably the better way of putting it. And the best way of doing it, first of all, because there's some broadcasts that do this and it's not great, is when the game is over, you go to break, and then people come on the other side. It's generally not great. Um, you want to be able to, after the game is over, go straight to the lounge and still grab your attention with something that's really interesting immediately. So the best way of doing it a lot of the times is either come to the lounge. In this case, I'll use an example, and immediately someone is going over like game files of like the last big team fight that just happened, because that's on everyone's front of mind. If you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about the previous game, why would I wait throughout the entire break and wait for you to come back to talk about it? I'm probably already going somewhere. I'm going on Twitch chat, fucking typing that this was dog shit, or I'm going to Reddit. I'm doing that. Like I'm expressing that elsewhere. And I really want to be able to get that energy out. Now, if it goes straight to the lounge and I got chat or a player, somebody who's with us, especially during playoffs, we'll always have players and we'll always encourage them to basically go over or replay that they have thought was the most impactful reason why they lost. They'll immediately hit that, and then it will send it to a break, and now we're thinking about the next game. But like we'll always, if we want to be able to glue the fans to the screen when like the game is over, you should, I mean, statistically, right to the lounge or straight to an interview or straight to something. And you need to hit them with something interesting as soon as possible. That's why like it doesn't have to be gamey. It doesn't have to be memey. It like entertainment is entertainment. A lot of people are gonna look at a game as like that last fight was dog shit. Show me why it was dog shit. Like or tell me it wasn't, and tell me there was something more meaningful that happened earlier on in the game. Or like, yeah, you can go into your gamified stuff, but give me something interesting as soon as possible rather than hitting me with a break screen.
Okay, you actually touched upon the next topic, but I actually want to conclude this with saying one of the things I really liked you guys doing, and I know why you guys started doing it, but I actually really like it, is just have the camera follow the player to the lounge.
Yeah.
Like that really held on to my attention. And that's actually where I got the idea of like, man, I wish they would tell us as soon as the game ends that they're going to have an interview with the player. Because that would
I didn't answer that.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't answer that point. That's my apologies. There is, and there's always been pushes and questions behind the scenes of like getting that information out there as possible because we do want to promote something. If there is something genuinely interesting, get it out there as soon as possible. Sometimes we can't just look off logistics of when we know we're getting a player. Like sometimes we'll watch a series. I'm like, I'm going into a series saying I want to talk to one particular player, like the mid laner, because probably there's a story throughout the season and this one's more interesting. And then the AD carry just has like a 20 kill series and he was the one that hard carried. And it's like, well, now I actually have to change it and we'll talk to the AD carry instead. Or maybe you can think about bringing them as a combination. Like the decision around bringing a player up for an interview changes frequently throughout the game. So it's difficult to be able to get the messaging out. But we do, I agree, still need to be able to do that in some way, shape, or form because people would miss interviews that they're interested in.
I think as the Nexus explodes is probably like a reasonable time because I think by that time you guys already know, right?
Yeah, we already know, but then it's probably already moving to that interviews because you're right. Because then you can just see the player walking straight to the interview area or to the lounge. So we need to be able to get that out as soon as possible, and maybe we even change it to like guarantee that we're getting that one player in the lounge and find a way to incorporate what's more interesting within the game. So like it's going to be that one player that we already promoted, but then if something happening that's interesting within the game, then we can add that other player. So it's like that's a potential one as well. It kind of depends, but I agree. I think the earlier we promote it, the better.
Yeah, actually, I didn't even consider like, I don't know, like you have Azale on the cast being like, oh my god, Masa has an incredible game. I can't wait to hear after the game from him because he's going to be on the lounge. Like just saying that during game could be very powerful. Yeah. I didn't even like consider that, honestly.
Mm-hmm. It's tough. It's definitely tough. There's never going to be a perfect answer, but I do think the best answer is to just promote it as soon as possible, just so you get at least people thinking about it. Because then I know I'm fast with it. Before the next even explodes and I think the game's going to be over as a fan, I'm like, I'm already leaving my seat to like get a drink or something. So if I'm going to be fast with it, I know the audience is going to be with too.
Then why do these like interviews or these pieces of content not live independently? Like I feel like just clipping that interview and putting that on the YouTube channel. I feel like the LCS is very much against to having stand-alone pieces of content unless they are like the hard-hitting ones, like back in the day, this or that. More recently with pros and the dive, like these segments, like Draw My Life, could easily be a YouTube video, and yet they're never pushed that way.
Yeah, I share the sentiment. I think it depends because that's probably a question that's out of my reach. Because
makes sense.
I do every other broadcast, like for instance, I'll speak from the NBA perspective. A lot of people don't watch it because it's either behind a paywall, or they're busy with their life, and there's like 80 something games within a season. So like there has to be a clips channel. There has to be a clips channel for like Ludwig. There has to be a clips channel for like Iron Mouse. There's going to be a clips channel for everybody. We should, I think, I would imagine like have a clips channel, but then that's another question about, I'm sure, resources, but also about viewership that I wouldn't even be knowledgeable enough to kind of put my hat there. But I do think having that is good. That being said, as much as I agree with you, I also think that if Emily has an amazing Draw My Life segment, she should also just push it out on her platform. If I have a great Telestrator segment, like I should push it on my platform. It should be like retweeted by a larger body. But I think it would be great for the personal talent that has that. Like for instance, if the player has an amazing moment on broadcast, like an interview, probably not an interview, but like a segment that he delivered. Hell, we should deliver him that kind of content, and he should push it on his channel. Like I do think a clips channel would be great. I would love it. I'm with you on that one. I don't know the answer on that question, but the alternative I think is great as well.
Yeah,
Interviews though, that's a tough one. That one should definitely, I think, live somewhere. Personally,
I think so too. I think even just like pick two of them every week, and then that way you have pros coming out on Monday, interview coming out on Tuesday, or it could come out the same day. I mean, there's so many ways of doing it, but I do want to move
yeah,
on from that because I think as an interviewer, I spent a lot of time talking about interviews.
fair.
There was something that you mentioned about like different types of information and keeping retention of like it doesn't actually have to be like game specific information. It can be memeing Sven or trolling someone. It can be talking about
Yeah.
a team fight. It can be a lot of different things. How do you guys determine that? Because that is something
Hmm.
that I also think about is like there was a point in my interview stage where I put in one specific question, which was like a game. It was like a random game where it was based on RNG. You would pick a random name, and then you'd have to rank these 5 players, and it was random. So then a bunch of people put Faker fourth because that was the last one that they had, right?
Yeah.
They were trolled, and I realized that people didn't like that, and I was like, okay,
Mhm.
I guess. And specifically with my interviews, people don't like the gamey, like TikToky trend. But
Yeah.
for someone you were saying you only really get data like almost once a split. It's not like for me, I can just check my analytics. You can't really do that. How do you guys come up with those decisions?
I think a lot of it comes because it has to, in my mind, authenticity is really key. Should never be forced, and whenever it is forced, people will see it. So it's like notice it. Like if I can tell something is forced, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that can tell that it's forced. So I think first things first, like if the talent member is really passionate about an idea, like for instance, if I'm glued to TikTok permanently, if I see a trend that I'm like, dude, we should do something like this, um, and I propose it, and I propose a plan around it, then we'll try and execute it, push it on broadcast. How was reception? How did we feel it was executed? If we felt like it was good, then we'll see based off metrics. Then that's not something that I look at. But like if you can get a general sense, of course, of like how did this perform? Did we execute it well? And how did people receive it in Twitch chat or YouTube or wherever it was planted? And how was viewership if it does live on like YouTube? Like for instance, that one content piece about are you smarter than an LCS analyst? I just butchered the title, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like that stuff, you can tell how that one is because it does live on YouTube.
Mhm.
Of how that performs. So I think that the performance basis, that one's a long-term question, but generally how you feel in the moment a content works. I think that's based off of how the talent or person that pitches it imagines it, how short it is, if it lives on the broadcast, how did we receive it? Did the people in the production staff like feel good about it? That is how I would generally judge it. And I feel like I personally will read comments, so I don't really care if people like it or hate it. If they hate it, then perfect. We work on that and move on. I'm not going to get hurt personally by reading that comment. So that's how I feel about it. And then we always have feedback meetings. I think I should have mentioned that one as well. Every week we have feedback meetings. So at the feedback meetings, that will be like the content pieces will definitely presented. Talent members, everybody who's there, producers, writers, talent members, audio person, director will be like, did we like this content piece? What was good about it? What was bad about it? Like that also includes if people received it well outside, and then we kind of judge it based off that.
Okay, I think I'm getting a much better sort of vision of how everything is set up. That's sort of one of the things that I really wanted to get across when working with you is like asking all these questions so that
Mhm.
I can get like a more detailed picture of what a broadcast is. You guys don't just show up and start talking about the game. You guys have like feedback meetings. You have like prep meetings all the time. You guys like clearly you're coming up with your own ideas, and like you said, you're glued to TikTok, and so you're able to come up with these trends in a way that maybe someone who isn't glued on TikTok might, but maybe they watch more hockey, and so they come up with ideas that they saw on that
Yeah,
broadcast that they like, and it's like a lot more of a collaborative process.
exactly. And a lot of it too is just like a lot of ideas just come out of someone just saying something stupid or like shooting the shit. Like a great idea is like the whole conspiracy Golden Guardians thing that happened during that season, about them never getting to 10 wins.
Oh
Like
yeah, I remember that.
Jad thought of that one, but a lot of it came to somebody saying something in a meeting, presenting a stat. It was like, damn, that's really funny that that's the case.
Who
Like,
came
how
up
do we
with the
want to present
heist?
it?
The
Who came
final
up with the
heist.
heist? The
Yeah.
final heist? Oh, I think that was me. The
Okay.
final heist. Like the whole idea of like we should have a blueprint and we should be able to go through the fact that there's one last heist and what they need to be able to do to get there. The problem is they kept fucking winning. They kept fucking winning. So I was like, wait a minute, this is gonna get stale.
Yeah.
This is when are they gonna stop? um, so I don't know when that stopped. And also there was one day that I was not on broadcast, so someone else had to carry it. So it was not my child anymore. So I was like, that one was. I think that idea. I don't really care if it's like beating, um, you know, or is what's the terminology again?
Being a
Like
dead
just
horse.
repetition. Yeah, beating a dead horse. I don't really necessarily care about beating a dead horse because like everyone has a different perspective. There's going to be some people that are watching it nonstop, and there's going to be some people that are like, "Oh, this is the first time I saw this." So for me, it's like making it a thing, and then after a certain point, getting a pulse on when the hell that thing is dead. But that was a me thing for sure, and then it kind of blew up to something greater. Oh, but also, even though the idea was presented, that was like people in my production came out with some amazing props. I think this year has been great with props. The whole blue, like the entire platform that we were using, I really enjoyed the set changes that we had for that.
Interesting. I thought the flags were pretty cool.
Mhm.
That whole idea, and then
Yeah, the flags are great. I don't even know who presented that one. I think it's just producers.
yeah, I do agree actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think the props were really good. I think at least personally, I didn't relate too much to the broadcast this year as compared. I go back to
Yeah,
2024 summer a lot, but I just it was so much fun. Every piece of content that came out, I was watching. I was watching like broadcast. I would literally pause the broadcast while I'm doing the interview, and then normally I would just go back to the game and like click live. But I was no,
yeah,
I want to catch up. I want to see what they did, what they talked about. I
yeah.
was having a lot of fun with it. Um, so maybe I'm like looking through rose tinted glasses, but
The problem is your feelings are it's valid because even if there are certain things that work and that you like, what ends up permeating is just like the games themselves. Like for instance, Split One, so much of it was like, damn, DSG's in the league, but now they're out. Like they had two series and then they're gone. Like you have like one great interview with like Disguise, but then his team, his baby, is literally immediately squashed. And then it's like, well, now we get to finally see them play against the Brazilian teams, and they're all gone in round one. You're like, okay, well, now they're all booing us on stage. That's another thing. So like the negativity was constant and purveying, and it's hard to really get away from.
mm,
Split two was like, oh, it starts with what's it called again? The games that just don't matter. Like
the
the
round,
best,
single round robin, yeah.
yeah. And that one was poor. But then we go into the group stage, and that one was cool. But then that meant a lot. It's either games that didn't mean anything or they meant too much. Because then it was like, oh, Sniper's playing Aurelia, but now that they lost to Shopify Rebellion, well, now they are instantly in the lower bracket. They don't really get much of a chance. So like, but I still, out of all the splits, thought Split Two was hilariously better than every other split. But that's not saying
Oh, for
much.
sure.
And also,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not saying much. And then you go to Split Three, and then you have to defend pick and play, and so it's like I just thought that it was hard to get out of our own way, to present the good stuff that was happening. Because I can say everything was good, and we can be like, yeah, that was nice, but the massive elephant in the room is trampling me, so it's hard to really enjoy the good stuff.
Yeah, I mean that does make a lot of sense. I guess how then do you're almost at the mercy of what like if all our teams sucked, right? Clearly that's a different vibe, a different environment. If DSG is doing well, if they're not doing well, like there's you guys are as a broadcast have to tell a story. But the
Yeah.
issue with that is that you guys are reactive, not pro. You're not making the story. You're reacting to a story, but it's also your job to tell that story. Talk to me
Mm.
about that difficulty, because it seems kind of difficult to do in the moment, right? I can wait for my podcast on Wednesday after I've seen you guys talk about it. I've seen everyone talk about it. I've seen it happen. It's concluded. Interviews came out. Then I can tell the story. You guys have to tell the story like that.
Yeah. I do think what makes a good broadcast is if you can find entertainment out of, like, when I say nothing, like if the games are not played yet, then speculating I think is really cool and really fun. Obviously there's danger in speculations, but at least like having reasonable speculations and like the fandom around it, like power rankings are great. Everyone loves power rankings. Maybe not the players, maybe not them, but like you can speculate and have fun before the games get played, set expectations, and then look back at those expectations and be like, past Raz was a dumbass, or past, there. Hey, maybe I was Nostradamus all along about thinking about this team. So like I do think we can be proactive, but it goes to an extent. And you're right. I think when you were talking about the quality of the teams or something to that nature, it's like, well, then we have to start being reactive, and then suddenly it's FlyQuest just being dominant throughout the entire year. And then now Cloud9 had a really, really solid finals, and they probably should have won the finals in Split 2. But then now they're blowing up in Split 3 made it very difficult, I think, in terms of storytelling, because it was very clear that it was just FlyQuest at the top, and then everyone else was struggling. And being able to react to that story and tell a story like around that, you have to be honest. So we really started talking about how dominant FlyQuest was. But it's not great for a region when every other team that should be like who you're putting on a pedestal is blowing up. So that one is tough, but you have to be honest with it. So yeah, you just have to present the conversation, especially on pros or the dive, and on broadcast, give reason to why these teams are blowing up. Because that, honestly, I don't know about you, but drama is entertainment. So if a team, like a great example is the FlyQuest documentary that came out, if a team is blowing up, there's going to be a question of like, why are they blowing up? And that's content. So even though it's negative content, you still talk about it, try and be constructive about it on the broadcast, not be as negative about it. And hopefully teams present, stuff like the FlyQuest documentary or something that is entertainment, and you get interest out of it. But yeah, I don't know if I answered your question on that one. I tried.
No, you did. It's a my understanding is like it's a mixture of how much of this can we actually be driving the narrative and like being proactive. When there is no story to tell, we have to make up a story. But when there is a story to tell, it's very easy for us to then latch onto that story.
Exactly. Like we scraped through, at least I would say myself, I scraped through the internet to find stuff that is valuable. Like for instance, when there is a beef between Luger and Spica on the solo queue stuff, that's great. That's good shit. Let's see if we can do something with it. Like the whole handshaking incident between Sven and
Dokla.
why am I blanking?
Dokla and
Sven. Oh, Dokla and Bippo right now, but it was a long time ago. Is Sven and the 80 carry Jan. Jesus.
Oh
blanking.
yeah,
That was crazy.
year, yeah.
Blanked like mad. Like try and do something with it, or like you don't have to be forceful with it, but like try it's the most topical thing. It's what people are talking about. So there is a lot of reactive stuff that you can play off of. So we try and do that. And hopefully this goes back to the whole being timely thing. It's really important to be timely about the things you talk about. If we care too much about polish, about a piece of content, and it releases like 2 weeks after the joke, don't release it. Maybe you should release it.
You're saying that. Yeah.
It's like, just, in my mind, I'm like, it's dead. Don't do it. You're gonna be the grandpa in the room that comes out when everyone else is saying it. I don't like it. So this goes back in tow with the whole idea of following the players after their interview. Like, I don't care if the polish is there. I don't care if it's like dirty or raw. Just send it. It's what people want. So if just try and be timely with the stuff that we have available to us.
Yeah, the Cloud9 like videographer / editor. I'm not entirely sure what her title is. Danny, shout out to her. She makes a lot of content on TikTok and on Twitter. She actually just posted today where she was like, a lot of people ask me, why don't you make this content or why don't you make that content? She's like, I would love to show you guys this, but there are channels that they have to go through, and if they do go through those channels, you guys won't care about the content by the time it comes out. So just don't. So yeah, like
100%. The whole process pipeline, especially if it's something that is built for fun, because everyone has struggled with it. Every team has struggled with it. Every corporation has struggled with it. With us, when that question comes up about a content pipeline, if it's longer than a week, we have to get better about it. Like, we have to either get better or find our own solutions, which goes back in part with our own socials. Like, if we think something is really funny, like all of us does, like if I have an idea that's really funny and the broadcast, this is my own problem, and we don't have time to put it on a broadcast, that sucks. We should get better at it. But also, why don't I release it? Like, why don't I do something with it? Like, we're all creators in one way, shape, or form. Like, just because, you know, I'm done with a broadcast day doesn't mean I should be not supporting the scene or supporting this idea. Like, I should do something. So yeah, I think that deeply matters. And the pipeline that she's talking about, that happens on teams as well, and it can be really frustrating. There's a thing that I remember being told to me way, way, way back in the day, like 2016, when I first came into Riot, about the idea of like, ask for forgiveness, don't ask for permission. Like, if you have something that is really valuable and you think it's great, but if you have to go through the pipeline and it takes too long and it's going to shit on your idea, then just, if you have that faith, push it out there, just do it anyways, and then, you know, ask for forgiveness if you know, people have an issue with it, but you should be confident in it, and if it blows up, it blows up. That's good. So sometimes I come in with that philosophy of like, hey, I really care about this thing, and the pipeline is going to kill it, then I'm just going to push it out anyways.
You've mentioned this multiple times now, and I think this feels very grassroots of you, even though Riot is not grassroots, right? They're as big as you can get. Is, hey, we're all content creators in some shape or form. We're all responsible.
Yeah.
We all need to do a better job. If something doesn't live, like if something lives on YouTube, we should be pushing it out. If not, this idea that when you're off broadcast, you no longer are, or you are still responsible for developing the scene of North America. That's very strange to me because, like I said, that sounds like a very grassroots sort of, almost like you have equity in Riot Games or in the LCS broadcast. It sounds like you are heavily involved in this. Like, for me, I can say my channel depends on how well the LCS does. So if I'm doing something like that, it makes sense. But for you, you're working on the broadcast. Whether the broadcast increases 10% or decreases 10% doesn't necessarily affect you. Obviously, like if you lose your job, that's one thing. But just the way you talk about it is more of like, I just want this to get better.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
I think it comes from, there's like a set belief in what I do, in that if I do the right things, or if I just bust my ass, then we'll be in the right spot. Like, we'll be in a good place. I've always had that mentality. So like, for instance, when I was in China, working on the LPL side, and I was more contracted there. So in that case, I was literally like contracted 9-to-5 worker, office worker. Like, I just want this product to do great. That is what I'm going to be judged on. So no matter what they need from me, even if it's me just becoming a dog shit play-by-play because my play-by-play may be sick, or pushing out ideas that may not go anywhere, or like just trying to always push and try new things and try new content. And if the content fails, like, challenge why it's failing. Like, I want the product to succeed, because if the product succeed, it's my passion, it's my love. I've always loved the LPL. I want it to do well. And sure, that might find job security, but at least it's going to also just find personal happiness for me, because now I have something to look at and say, this succeeded because of my effort. And then for the LCS, sure, in this case, I'm a freelancer. But like, once again, I'm a freelancer and by name only. I only do League of Legends. Like, I only do League of Legends. I only really do like LCS stuff because I love League of Legends. I love the LCS. It's my fucking passion. It's what I love to do. And if it's something that can improve the product, or also, yeah, if it's something that can improve the product, I learn something too. Like, for instance, I for a long time was just only an analyst and caster. I've never done interviewing. I've never done hosting gigs. But then you work on that. It's like, oh, that's what they want from me. Let's bust our asses to be better at that, because everyone had to do that. Like, everyone really had to be better at their specific craft. Or if I'm like, oh, I think it's really beneficial for me to be able to make my own content around the league and push it out on TikTok. Like for me, my TikToks have basically exclusively been LCS. Like, and you already know, if you make LCK content, that shit bangs. If you just make T1 content, that shit goes crazy.
I'm still getting likes from the beginning of Worlds talking about Doron. Like, I still get like, oh, this video got 100 likes. I'm like,
yes, yes. And so, like, if I cared about my own metrics and cared about like trying to get the Raz brand out there, fuck, I'd be T1 riding the entire time. I would just be making TikToks about like LCK news or T1 news or stuff like that. People were asking me why I didn't make anything about Guma. I was like, yeah, if I were to just wanted to care about my branding right now or care about like getting every video really up there, that'd work. But like long term, I just want the LCS to succeed. And that's the biggest question that everyone has had. Like, I want this league to succeed. I think that there are already amazing creators that do that job. Obviously, you've been pushing out a lot of stuff with this show, LCS Report. David Shynock has been another person that's been doing a lot of it on TikTok. There's been some content creators on the like Twitch side. There's been some here and there. There's one person I noticed named Hara Bunny. Like, there's been a few people that have been finding like some push, and that's great. And we should kind of push those voices louder. But I also think we should add to those voices and give people a reason to be interested. So that's a long-winded answer. My thing is, if I genuinely want something to succeed, and if I don't put in 100% to it, then at the end of the year, when I look back at it, there will only be regret. So I just try to do my best, even when I'm clocking out of work.
This feels very... What's the best way to say this? Your answer is an answer I would expect if I asked Jet as well. I feel like he would give the same answer. If I were to ask Kobe, I feel like he would give a very similar answer, where they are just genuinely very passionate about the LCS, regardless of whether it's their job or not. They really want it to succeed. And I think you would agree that like most people that are most of the talent are genuinely just passionate about this project.
Yes. I love this team. Like, this team, I would not have expected. Not because I've had like bad experiences in the past. I think I'm very lucky. When you think about like commentators or celebs or show business or anything like that, you'd expect there to be egos, politics, like problems, general problems, like people trying to fight over positions or something like that. And I have legitimately like never experienced that in the LCS. And even where like sometimes it would happen, and of course I'm just talking about my experience. God knows what's happened in the past before that. But like, and like even in times where that was felt in the small moments in the LPL, that was probably just because of questions of like structure, of not having necessarily a clear vision. But it was happening also, like problems were happening amongst friends, and so those were easier to manage and maneuver. So that was a little different. So in this case, like I've been lucky to be in a scene where everyone is really loving and passionate about it, and everyone has been very open to hearing from other people. And I've only really genuinely had good interactions with the people that I've worked with, which is crazy because I know that's not necessarily true everywhere. Like I'm sure in CS:GO or wherever, like those communities, like I've heard some other communities are like a little tough when it comes to those scenes, and it's probably a credit to the structure that we have. But yes, I agree. I think everyone is genuinely loving for the scene. I think everyone came in for the same reason. Even if there was new names that came through, like a Cubby or anything like that, then you would still have people that genuinely love League and only really care to like add their voices. So I think it's just a product of the people who are in the community.
Okay, because that was going to be my next question. It's like, how did you foster such an environment? Because I truly believe that it's like nature and nurture. It's like it's very rare that it just happens by chance, you know. And like kind of to add to your point, just because this is public, I'm not sharing anything that isn't public. But like for example, in the LEC, we've seen certain broadcast personalities like butt heads, and maybe one of them didn't end up finding a job while the other one did. Like there are these situations where yes, everybody is working on the broadcast, but it's more about me, or I want my spot. And like just from hearing your answer, it doesn't sound like it's about me. I want my spot. It's like, God damn it, how do I make the LCS better? Like I want to think of every single, like when you were saying, oh, they want me to do interviews, I will scour the internet for every single piece of information that I can on how to improve on interviews and things like that. And that it definitely shows. I will say it didn't show too much in 2025, but I think 2023, 2024, it definitely did show with this group of like broadcast.
I think this reminds me of, so like when I first came into an international, I think 2017, 2018. God, I don't remember. It was probably 2018. I found it was difficult to find my voice because there was a lot of people that were kind of fighting for position, you know? Like for instance, if I'm on a desk with 4 other people, back then it was like trying to fight to get my voice out there. Like if you put your hand signal out there, it's like, oh, are they going to run over you or what? Like, is it a collaborative process? I didn't feel like it was a collaborative process back then. Whereas right now, it is literally the most collaborative process ever. And I think it's because a lot of people who are old heads in the scene right now, they all have experienced that and they did not like that. And they're trying to make things better. Like I'll say for me, how I try to create a sense of community whenever I come in through the door is I recognize everyone has the same goal in wanting to improve. I know that. It could be coming from different aspects. Like it could be from a more personal, I find I have an unhealthy tie to my workplace. And I feel like if I find improvement in my workplace, I find positivity in my mental space. Like that's one thing. Or it could be someone who's like, I want to keep my job, so I want to improve at my job. And that's how, or maybe it's just like some more like, I just want to improve at all aspects of my life. So everybody wants to improve. So like for me, if I come into a door and I'm new to a product, or new people coming into the product, I'll always think like give feedback. That's my biggest one. It's like if we just came out of a segment, well, even before going into a segment, I'll ask what's something that they're working on or wanted to like be able to nail down in a segment or a broadcast. I'll ask them those questions first so I know what they're working on. Then after the fact, and then during the segment, I'll try to set them up for it. I think that's the most important thing you can possibly do is giving them space to do what they want to do. Maybe if they're not like experienced at being able to set it up themselves, I'll set it up for them or someone else will set it up for them. And then after the fact, ask them how they felt about it and then give feedback based off of it. And that immediately, I think, creates a connection between you and them. Like they know that you have their best interest at heart. So not only just, of course, being positive in the workplace, but also helping them when they're doing something so that they show their best selves and also giving them feedback on how to improve that for the future. So I always do that if I'm with someone new at an international event. And by someone new, like it doesn't have to be like someone who's like green to the event, like the first time doing international. Be someone that's done it like 10 times and they're way more veteran than I am. But I'm like, hey, I want to be able to connect with them, so I'm gonna ask them what they're looking forward to doing to bridge a gap, and then we can work together. And sometimes the answer is like, if I'm talking to somebody who's an old head, they'll be like, I'm just gonna do this, but like, don't even worry about it. I got it, but confident in what they're trying to do. And then they'll give you an idea, and they'll probably ask you the same question because now you've asked and you showcased that you're interested in what they're trying to do. So I think, as long-winded as that was, I'm really good at long-winded answers.
This is why we need you to start a podcast.
Well, I don't know. I can't do too much. Let's keep it at the TikToks for now and streams. Where I'm yapping too much there too. Just try and showcase genuine interest in what the people around you are doing. And give feedback and ask them questions. And I do think, based off of when I was like working as a coach on other teams, like I do think activities outside of the broadcast is nice too. You don't necessarily need to do that. Everyone is old as hell. Like if you have time, get food and talk and have like playing League together is great. We're all League casters. Fuck it. Let's play some ARAMs or normals.
I remember the Ovly Flowers, like those streams were pretty fun.
That was fun. That was very fun.
Yeah.
Mostly because we're just trolling Ovly the entire time. Or she's trolling us because she's a horrendous player, but like it's a little bit of both.
I think my favorite, like this is like, I don't know, like 3-4 years ago, but there was a game where she was playing Soraka mid for some reason. Yeah. You were playing something. I don't remember what you were playing because I was watching on her stream.
I don't remember. Yeah.
And you were like, dude, ult me. And she's like, you better bark for me, you better bark for me. And then
Oh, I remember this.
you start barking, and then she doesn't ult you and you die. And you're like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I
Yes,
forgot.
I remember this. Yeah, she was playing Soraka bot. I was playing Aurelia mid.
Oh,
First
is
of
that
all,
what it
that
was? Okay.
stream, yeah, that stream, there was an earthquake, so that was already something. Love LA. But yes, she was like, "This bark for me." I was like, "I'm not gonna do it. It's not gonna happen. Why would I bark on stream for a heal? It's not happening." And then I'm about to win a fight. I'm just that close. She didn't even have ulti. She literally just told me to bark when she didn't have ulti. That was fucking crazy. But yes, we need shit like that. That's fun, and that's the thing that people tend to forget. And this is my point, me pointing to players and maybe some broadcast people, but like mostly players, where it's like, dude, this shit is fun. Why are we not doing it? When I'm asking you to do content, I'm not being like, check off the box. This is work. This is like, check off the box on content. I'm gonna tweet. Man, that was really fucking hard. I'm just gonna like dab my forehead. That was really difficult. I'm never doing that again. No, enjoy yourself. Fucking have fun. I'm sure playing on a team is difficult. I know that's the case. Playing league afterwards can't be that hard. Or if you see something that's interesting, retweeting it or saying something about it, I swear that's not that hard. And yes, I understand when you speak on things, you're gonna get flamed. It is what it is. You don't have to be antagonistic then. You don't have to do the APA brand. You don't have to be like doing some bullshit stuff if you don't like the responses that come your way. But that's where I get confused now. I don't want to change the subject, but I get confused when people have difficulty pushing any content. It's like, where's your passion? Where's the fun in any of this?
I asked if I went through like a time where I was asking a bunch of pro players, and I asked pro players who used to stream like Surdy and Shaden, and his answer was like, man, it's just so hard. Like, I don't know how much more I can say, but like just booting up that stream when you just want to play solo queue after you just got completely like destroyed by Inspired, like he did illegal things to you, and then you go on stream and you're supposed to just be like regular. It's so hard.
Yeah.
And that was sort of yeah, go ahead.
I will say this, like it absolutely is. I think from the perspective, there are some teams that are like triple blocking. It's like, okay, then streaming after the fact is going to be hard, right? That, at least if you're thinking of streaming as like, oh, I need to put a cam on, I need to put a mic. You actually just don't need to do that. In fact, Busio right now is streaming without, I mean, he has a mic, but he doesn't necessarily need to have a mic. Dardoch didn't stream with a mic or cam, but Busio is not streaming with a cam. And he's like only putting in 1 hour of stream these days. But like, what I'm basically saying is like, and on top of that, I do think some pros straight up overthink it. Because from my conversations with them, a lot of the times when they think about streaming, they're thinking about like mic, cam, entertaining the chat, always being out there, and like you don't need to do that, especially not on the first day. But yeah, that's going to be really difficult, and you don't have to do like those 5-hour streams. All I'm asking for is like, hey, if you're like, okay, tough day, I'm just going to put on my stream and I'm just going to like type in chat. A lot of the times pros back in the day did that as a therapeutic way. Like I'm away from my teammates and I'm away from all that, and I'm just going to yap about anything that I care about. And if a person asks me a question that maybe I don't want to answer, I'll just say that I don't want to answer it. Like a lot of the times people are intimidated by the idea, but then when they go through with the idea, it is not as hard, nearly as hard as you think it is. And also the other question that I would ask players is the idea of streaming. And they always say that the chat is always going to be shit. Like there's going to be people who are asking like permanent questions, which is fine, but there's going to be flamers and all that. Okay. Yes. On the first week of your stream, it's probably going to be the worst because you need to cultivate your community. Like your community is going to be operating around your energy and what you provide. And then if you create a line, your community and your chat is going to recognize where that line is, and they're ultimately going to police themselves if the mods don't do that for them. So it's like at a certain point, it does get easier, and it is genuinely enjoyable to just turn on your stream and just dick around. And I'm not even saying that if that's too hard because of the triple blocking and stuff. You see something funny on Twitter, because I know they're on Twitter, just like you can respond to it or tweet about it. And if God knows Niski has lost a lot of games in his life, does that stop him from doing it? Or people have flamed him for this or that, or the whole El Yoya. Does that stop him from like kind of enjoying the process? Yeah, everyone's different, but I think too many people have viewed it in the most negative light, like the most inhumanly negative light as possible. You don't even have that many fans. If it was fucking K Corp fans or T1 fans or HLE fans, sure, I understand. You say one thing, you're getting completely ripped apart. Like if you're Bin, you say one word that seems too overconfident, people will be like, "This son of a bitch!" Like, get this man. Okay, North America, you're afraid of the fans? That to me is crazy. I don't see that personally.
I mean,
Maybe if you were on TSM back in the day.
which is funny because back when they were at TSM, they were making content. Beerson was streaming. He was like,
Yes.
he had a YouTube channel where they would just upload his VODs. Doublelift had like
Yeah.
every week after the games, he would just go over. It was just him talking to a camera, like zero editing. He was just talking about the games. Like we actually had more content when the fans were more aggressive and more harmful. But I did like
I agree, and also facing your naysayers, if you do it correctly, very funny. Like I've had bad days. I've had people who European fans when I was like heavy like enforcing North America or LPL stuff that like were on my ass in DMs or on chat. I'll randomly see the N-word sometimes. Like obviously there's obviously over the line, and there are some people that are just like genuine fans being dickheads. If you respond to those dickheads, depending on how you do it, like, and how you take on actual genuine criticism and how you own certain things, it turns into something that's fun. I promise you, it depends on it. You have to be smart about it. So maybe that advice is not great. That's a bit dangerous of an advice right there. But I think avoiding the criticism or avoiding the hate is a problem. I think APA does a great job once again of when he sees the hate, he kind of plays into it a little bit or just tweets past it, and people do not care. So
I think another example actually that happened in the LCS was Palafox, or LTA technically. It's like Palafox is getting a lot of hate, and like he felt like the broadcast was like he made his comments and then you guys brought him on. But imagine he had his own platform. Like, yes, that doesn't blow out of proportion. That doesn't happen, right?
Yes,
but he doesn't.
That's why I think it's super important to get ahead of it. Like, I love Palafox genuinely as a friend, and that's why like if I feel like I've said something that's not true, he should definitely call me out. I don't care how he calls me out in doing so. Like I even asked him. He didn't say me, but like he didn't say it was me. That's fine. Like I think being able to have control over your own media is super important. Fucking Russ, in the NBA has like now his own kind of. I mean, he operates his Twitter or Instagram reel. Like, why am I saying reels? He operates his own Instagram, and it's super easy if you have control of your own media and get context out there. And even if you're wrong in what you said initially, then you can respond to it, write yourself, and people are understanding. Like, I think if you avoid it, it turns into something bigger that like it gets completely out of your control. Like I remember in 2018 Worlds, the Fnatic community thought I said that 100 Thieves was better than them and would be better than them within the group. I never said that. Literally, I never said that.
The clip was the opposite, wasn't it?
Yeah, the clip was literally the opposite. It said that I 100% think Fnatic would beat them, but like obviously Shox and them were like pushing me and be like, what do you think? It's like, if 100 Thieves were to win, it would be because of this and this, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Fnatic will win. Like, I don't see that world where, this is the whole Cody-san Ricari incident. But then the Fnatic fans just took it and made it seem as though I said that 100 Thieves were going to win. Now, I chose to do the wrong thing. I didn't interact with it. I didn't engage with it. And then suddenly it became the truth of society that I had said this. And then I came out and was like, okay, this is wrong. And here's why. It took like a year or so. If you just don't interact or engage with something that you feel passionate about, then other people will do that for you, and it's bad. So, as long as you trust yourself that you just are not crazy or angry or hateful or going to say something you'll regret, just be reasonable, and you'll have people who are willing to defend you at all times.
I also think for the LCS, it's actually so easy because all you need to do, you don't even need to talk to a camera. You can just fire up Twitter, write something, and then ask Riot or LCS to retweet it. Like, that's all you have to do. That's all you, and like, they're so willing. They used to like, or you could fire up your stream and be like, hey, could you host me once the stream is over? Because I want to talk about
There's so many things you can do.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, like right now, Spawn, whenever he gets his like reasonings out for roster decisions or what's going on in Team Liquid, because he's trying to be as transparent as possible, a lot of times I'm like, oh, where did he say that? It was either on Twitter or like Team Liquid pushed it out as a video, or it was in the Team Liquid Discord channel. And like, damn, now I got to go to the Team Liquid Discord channel. But like, there's so many platforms in which you can do it.
Yeah, I think just to wrap this part of the discussion up, there is a culture of non-streaming in North America. If you look at LCK, look at Damon, look at KT, look at T1, look at Gen G, look at Hanwha Life, every single one of their players streams. They're streaming right now, probably. Well, and that's like 8 a.m. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But in 12 hours, they're probably going to be streaming, even if they're playing
Yeah.
in their tournament. There's so much, I know it's baked into their contract, but there's so much streaming that when you're a player and you join a team and you see everyone after practice streaming, you're just streaming too. But in
Yeah.
North America, when everyone just goes home or nobody streams, it could even be a situation where, hey, you're just streaming, like you're more focused on streaming than improving. Or
Yeah.
like it can cause this like little bit of a disconnect in the own team, which is just a culture I don't know how to fix. I know this isn't really part of broadcast, but it's like, how do we get them to understand that besides having teams mandate streaming hours, like how do we get them to understand this is your future?
That's hard. Because I do agree. Like LPL and I don't know about LCK in particular, but I do think it's probably similar. Where it's like, yeah, it's super baked into their streaming contract. It's probably why they have the contract money that they have. Because, like, for instance, it's like, okay, well, this team has a DouYu contract. Like, so you're streaming on DouYu, and if you don't stream on DouYu, we're gonna have real legal ramifications and problems tied to it. So like for them, they don't have a real choice, and it's just an obligation. In the past, it was similar to us, because I remember when I was on Dignitas, we had like a Twitch streaming contract, and I remember remember the quote being from up above being like, "Hey guys, if you don't stream, that money could just literally be your chef. Like he may not have a job." I was like, "Oh shit, guys, we like this, man. I think we should stream." So that was one of those. It was very clear, and it was pushed there. But if you then ask a player about long-term prospects, you're probably going to get the answer from those players that their long-term is competing, and that's not a great answer, honestly, because like you don't know what's going to happen. There's so many players right now that are actually, you should say they should be on a team. Like I think Dokla should be on a team. And there's been challenges of like, what team do you want to be on? I was like, well, I'm on part of the broadcast, so I don't want to push that negativity, but I already use mine easily. I'm not necessarily, I guess I'm wearing it, but I'm not gonna, but it's like, so, or Surdy. There are players that I think that should get that space, and I think are streaming, that are good streamers. But you don't know if you're going to be on a team like next year. That's the weirdest thing. That's the hardest thing. It's like you feel like you should be on a team. And I've seen so many players that are like that. Like Revenge, who felt like he should have been on a team, or Unforgiven, who I still think should just be on a tier 1 team, but I don't know what's happening there. Like there's so many players that I'm like, you should fucking be on a team, but they don't think about that because they think if they play well enough and just focus on the league game and everything, that there should be a space for them next year. So that's, I don't know the answer other than to continue to reinforce that streaming is not that hard. There's an off day for everybody. And I don't know what, and then a lot of times I'll ask players, what did you do on your off day? Playing League. Then you can stream League. Then you can stream it. Like, I want to be open-minded. So if you're saying Buddhist life, I am hiking on the trail, like I am like meditating the entire day, is like, okay, you're doing something, or it's like I'm with my wife or something, it's like, okay, you're doing something reasonable, I understand, I will not ask further. But if you're just playing League on your day off, then surely you can stream League on your day off, is all I'm saying. And the problem, and then that comes into the next question of like, oh, well, they view that as work. Then
if you're trying to be a top 1%, then you need to put in the work. Like it is a big correlation to the amount of streamers we had, to the amount of pros, to the degradation of tier 2. Like so many people lost their job, and then we lost 2 teams, and then we lost more teams, and it's like, how many more do you need it to be a 1-team league until you're like, oh, maybe I should have streamed? Like it's weird.
Yeah, and I don't ask for a lot. So I know we're talking about streaming, and I know people are gonna make their excuses about streaming, but then I'll always turn on to tweeting. Like I'm just asking for something to like connect you to people, like to the people that watch you, anything. And if you have not tweeted ever, like if I see somebody that is literally still have their old team's ads on their Twitter account, and they've been on their new team for the entire year, and I'm like, what the fuck? I don't get it. So, and That you just have to be a special type of good player to like still be operating like that and have that level of confidence. But then I just don't know what makes you enjoy aspects of life, and that's yeah, I don't get it because the beauty of League of Legends and just gaming, being in gaming competitive, is that it is equally a passion and love and fun as it is a job, and that's what makes it easier to work in. But sometimes it makes it hard because that's your entire life. That's all you ever do, and maybe you lose that joy in something simple. But you don't have to necessarily stream League. I don't know. I always ask the most bare minimum just so we can get someone to do something, and that part's hard. But we cherish the people that do stuff. So
Shout out Kryra. He's streaming every day until LCS starts.
oh yes, good shout out. Kryra has been nailing it. So and his interviews in tier 2 has been really funny. I don't. So I think he's gonna be a fun personality.
I think so too. He's so arrogant. He's so cocky. I love it.
Yes, yes, dude. The interview that he did in NACL, where he was like calling Supernova doggies that they're fake seed one, and then he was like, he said free one of the banned players before. That one's another thing. You may not want to do that in tier 1, but like, but he's funny. Like that's a personality, and the guy's actually putting out streams, so we got to support that.
Yeah, and he's doing it like you said without a cam. He just has his mic on.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, I think we covered up like everything and extra. Is there anything specifically you want to maybe like shout out or talk about? Last topic or something maybe you felt like you want to expand on or not?
I would just say shout out to. We talked about TikTok at the beginning. Shout out to just like the wider community that has been pushing out content. It's like you guys, of course, I've already said that, but like it's only when I started pushing out TikToks more seriously that I was like, there is a larger community than I have ever expected. Because my frame of mind was always Twitter and Reddit to a degree, maybe YouTube, but like YouTube, you're not really connected to your community. Those chatters just go crazy. But with TikTok, I was like, I didn't notice how many creators there were that only cared about LCS or like LoL esports as a whole. So like, shout out to I think that like you guys and the creators out there that have been killing it, and hopefully we can kind of expand those voices and like get that seen on the broadcast in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, shout out to you and Jat for both being on TikTok and like actually posting. Emily used to have a podcast, but then obviously her co-host got busy with LPL, so
yeah,
she's not there anymore. But yeah, just shout out to you guys as well for making 2025 could have been a lot worse, but you guys did a lot of work into just like making it more enjoyable. So I know it's difficult, and I know at some point maybe it felt like I was grilling you on like, why'd you guys do this or why'd you guys do that? But it's genuinely just to get those reasons out there, because if you just sit down and be like, oh, the broadcast sucks, or oh, they could have done better, and you don't realize this is the reason behind it, you can't really feel that compassionate. You almost feel like one of the sentiments I feel is you guys are actively incompetent or killing the brand on purpose or something like that. It's like, no, you guys love it. You're just as passionate. You're like, I don't care if it's a 9 to 5. I will take time afterwards and do it. Like that passion, once you show it, develops more of a community sense, a communal sense. Is what I was looking.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say that you were grilling me at all. I think one thing I love about you, you're genuine in asking the questions that people want to hear, like answers to, like actual hard questions. They shouldn't be hard. If they're hard, then there's probably a bad reason behind it. and if you feel like you can't say something, then you just say you can't. You can speak on it for obvious reasons. Like, so I think you gotta definitely keep asking those type of questions.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Unfortunately, Marn wasn't here, but I'm sure he would have had a lot of smarter questions to ask. That's for sure. He's like the smart one in the duo.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but,
maybe the smart answer was he was avoiding me. Maybe that brother was just trying to run. Maybe that was a smart decision, huh, Mark?
Maybe that was a smart decision. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and good luck prepping for 2026. I'm excited for what LCS is gonna hold.